Welcome to Talking Business and Life with Claudio Relsano and Steve Mancini. Claudio and Steve will share their business and life experience to help you grow your business and improve your life. Here's Claudio and Steve.
Good evening and welcome to Talking Business and Life. I am your co-host, Steve Mancini, and as always, I am joined by my other co-hosts, because there can only be two, Claudio Relsano. Claudio, how are you, buddy?
Steve, I'm doing well. How are you? Good to see you. Always.
I'm living the dream, my friend. Just getting off of our Easter weekend, and I didn't get a lot of rest with the grandkids, but what a great weekend.
What'd you do? What did they make you do?
You know what? They're 4 months and a 2-year-old, so it was just a lot of play and holding time. Yeah. But I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't a lot of sleep time. And I'm like, man, get this. I love it. This is the nice thing about grandkids. You give them back.
I don't. Well, you know, this is obviously baseball season, and I'm getting calls from overseas, Austria, Belgium, Germany, not Italy yet. But anyway, I'll get calls at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And if you don't pick up, they'll just go to another company. Right. So I have to pick up, and there's players that we're trying to sign and all that kind of stuff. So between that, getting ready for Easter, we had a very nice Easter. I ate a little bit too much, but it was really nice, peaceful.
You know what's funny is I was going to get up and go exercise today. This is the first night. You know, we really didn't have anybody there, and I literally, I don't know if you've ever done this when you're going to you're going to get up. You say, okay, I'm going to get up. I got about 30 more minutes. And the worst thing you want to do is try and go back, like, oh, I got 30 minutes. Let me get a power nap. It's the worst thing you can do. Yeah. So you're trying to wake yourself up. And I was like, you know what? I'm not getting up on time. So I turned my ringer off. And it was the craziest thing. I don't even remember closing my eyes. And it was an hour later.
It goes,
I was like,
know.
Wow, I was tired.
But we had a very nice Easter. My wife even helped cook this year a little bit. She made the potatoes. I made everything else. And but it was good. It was good. We had a very nice time. And always, you know, one time in 1985, I was at Three River Stadium, and I just looked around all these people. I said, you know what? I have the best holidays. You know, my parents made sure that I just had the nicest holidays at home. And the food and just everything, the atmosphere. And we want to make sure we do that with our daughter. And her boyfriend came over. And we play games. We go for walks and all that stuff. And, again, very, very nice Easter.
That's nice. But why Three River Stadium?
It just hit me.
Oh, okay.
And plus, I love that place. You know, that's my...
Yeah, that's a sentimental home.
That's a very sentimental for me.
You know what? I have never been in Acrisure Stadium, ever. I've been in PNC Park, half a dozen times. If the Pirates would ever commit to winning, you'd see me there a lot more because I do think it's a nice stadium. But they did sign that kid for a lot of money. So
yeah, no, they're going the right direction.
We'll
but
see.
For me,
he's got to maintain that effort on the team, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. But stadium-wise, for me, Three River Stadium. If you come to my house, I have statues and pictures all over Three River Stadium because I love that place.
You don't want people that stole the chairs, did you?
No, but when they blew it up, there was some. They dumped a lot of the stuff in Leesdale, this mill, and I got some rocks and I got some beat up chairs.
Oh, that's nice though.
But my uncle used to work there, as you know, and he used to give me some things from there, and I have. It was just very special for me, very special.
That's good. Well, speaking of special, we actually have a guest. No, people, you're not going to hear Claudio and I just ramble for the next 40 minutes. We have a pretty good guest, actually. I'm kind of excited to hear his story. But we're just going to introduce him, and then we're going to jump right in because he has some tremendous photography. I was out on his website and looked at it. Very interesting. Very skilled. But for lack of better term, Steve, without further ado, Steve Vaccariello. I promised you I'd bounce on the C's and the L's, and I hope I did that. But welcome, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here. Let's kind of just start off right up. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and we're going to jump more into your passions here in a minute.
Absolutely. Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. My family is still in Cleveland. I have very much Midwestern roots. I stayed there for my early career, learned my skills, and then decided to moved to New York City to further my development as an artist and a photographer.
Now, I was going to say real quick, based on that Italian last name, talk a little about your family. Were your parents born here in the United States? Grandparents?
My parents were born here in the United States, but I have 3 Italian grandparents and 1 Mexican grandparent. And we're from the South in Italy, near Campobasso and Matrige in the South. So I have a deep Italian heritage for sure. And I do all the cooking in the family, just like my father does all the cooking in the family. Yeah, the women are not in the kitchen around the holidays. It's all the men.
You know, I want to add real quick, and you both can chime in on this because I've never heard. It seems like that's more common than I was led to believe growing up. Is that true? The men doing the kitchen cooking during the holidays.
No, I don't. I mean, for me, my mom always did the cooking, but
I mean, for me, it was my dad cooked the big holidays. My mother might have cooked like, during the week and stuff like that, but Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that stuff, man, my dad was in there just tearing it up.
I do it now, Steve. I do all the cooking now. I think
so do I. So you see,
the only thing my wife makes is reservations. Steve, we were talking about Three River Stadium, me growing up. Steve's tired of hearing of it. Everybody is. August 19th, 1973, I went to my very first Pittsburgh Pirate game. I was 8 years old. That day, I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. My parents were from Italy. They like boxing and soccer. But that was the day I was introduced to baseball, and here it is. What is that, 53 years later, and I'm still at it. Now, when did you have a moment like that where this is what I want to do with the rest of my life?
That's funny because I had a moment exactly like that, and it happened early in my life as well. So the way it all got started was my father bought me an SLR camera when I was in 8th grade. It sat around for about a year, and then my dad was like, damn it, I bought you this camera, you never used it. So I'm like, okay, I went out and bought a roll of film, put it in the camera, went out around, took pictures of my friends in the neighborhood and stuff. Went to the drugstore to drop off the roll of film, and they told me that the film was a black and white roll of film I accidentally bought, and they couldn't develop it. So I go to my 9th grade biology teacher, who I knew taught photography at my high school. And I said, can you show me how to develop this roll of film like after school? He's like, sure, come by after school. So we did all that amazing stuff. We rolled it up on the spool. We put it in the chemicals. We did all that fun stuff. After the negative dried, we put it in the enlarger, and the image shone down onto a blank white piece of paper. And I took that white piece of paper and I put it in the developer, and a white piece of paper turned into a photo right before my very eyes. And that was the moment. I was like, this is magic. And I knew in 9th grade that was it. That's what I wanted to do.
And probably like me, you didn't think about money yet. How am I going to make a living at this?
No, and it's funny because my parents, I was supposed to go to college for chemical engineering, and I did go for 1 year because my parents were like, you can't make a living being a photographer. You're going to go be an engineer, and you're going to get your 4-year degree and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, after the first year, I'm like, folks, I'm wasting your money. I'm not going to do this. I got a job at the newspaper for the school and the local city newspaper. So I was shooting photos all the time and skipping my classes. So I quit school, and I told my parents, you got to trust me. I'm going to do this.
Now, you never look back because that's all you've been doing since then.
42, 43 years or whatever. Yeah. My first job actually out of when I quit college was, weirdly enough, a medical photographer. A lot of people don't know that all hospitals have photographers in the hospital for a variety of reasons, for PR and marketing, for documentation, for legal reasons. Say, somebody gets a nose job, they do before and after pictures. If someone gets hurt, they do the pictures of the injuries. I photographed open heart surgery. I photographed motorcycle victims. I mean, all kinds of crazy. I mean, it was intense. And I was, 19 years old. I was flying in life flight helicopters, ambulances, operating rooms, emergency rooms. It was an intense job, but I really, really liked it. And I learned a lot about the fundamentals about photography, and also about like the human race, obviously, what man can do to man, and like what happens in this world. It was really interesting, but I was really young.
Let me, I want to take a deep dive on that because that's very interesting. You never actually studied it. You were kind of one of these people they just threw right into the fire. And in this case, you really went into the fire. So when you're doing that back then, it was a living, but it was also a passion. So, do you still view it that way, or was that like a lot of people they different personalities over the years of your life? There are some things you're passionate about at this age that maybe you're not as passionate about at this age, or you still like this but you don't like that. Going
Right.
through that, was that about a passion just to take pictures, or was that a job that also just happened to be supporting it? Like, what was your mindset?
Initially, yeah, initially that job at the hospital, my father helped me get that job because he knew somebody that worked at the hospital. He helped me get that job. And it wasn't really a job I would have went for, but it was something that I can have right away. But what happened eventually was seeing all that pain and suffering. I mean, I used to have to see like, child abuse. I photographed the first AIDS patient in the country. This was in 1982.
Wow.
It got like a lot for a young kid to see. And so essentially for me, when I saved up enough money, I started my own business and I ran in the complete opposite direction. I took pictures of, pretty people and portraits and rock stars and actors. And, that was a huge dose of reality. So now I took my career and went like into fantasy world with my career. And that is actually where I remain today, shooting, dancers and actors and celebrities and all that kind of stuff. But that I would never take that job away though, because it formulated who I became as a photographer.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Did that, if that kind of, I don't want to say turned you off a little bit, but to your point, you're seeing this brutality, and some of it's not necessarily intentional. Some of it is intentional based on
Right.
whoever
Yep.
the victim is. But now you're seeing this brutality of humankind, and to your point, now you say, you know what, I don't ever want to walk down that road again.
Right.
What did you besides? It sounds like you kind of have more of an appreciation just for humanity. But what else did you take out of that? Not that that's not important, but were there other things that you took out of that experience that you feel, even to this day, still impact you?
Yeah, I really learned how to work with other people. I had to work with surgeons, high class doctors, people in business, life flight surgeons, helicopter pilots. Like it was amazing because I really, really got to know a lot of people and learn how to work with people on a very intimate basis and to be able to get them a product that they wanted. And sometimes under dire straits and under a lot of pressure. I'd be in the OR and this person would be bleeding out and I'd be 6 inches over the operating table and the surgeon would be like, I need a photo now. And I, snap over the surgical field. And so it was intense. And I learned grace under pressure too. I really learned that. And that actually even helps me till this day, because a lot of times when I shoot celebrities and high profile people, they're like, okay, you have like 6 minutes to get the photos and you can't do this and you can't do that. And it's like, okay, and I just, get into that focus mode and I get it done. And that job taught me a lot about that.
Steve, I've been in baseball now for 43 years, and everybody feels they can coach. Everybody feels they can scout professionally. I'm sure people in your business feel, oh, I can take a picture. Tell the people out there who say that how it's not just easy, just push a button and take a picture. There's a hell of a lot more to it.
This is I could talk about this for hours, but I'll condense it a little bit. Well, that got a lot worse, obviously, with the advent of digital photography and iPhones. I mean, I hear, people say they're a photographer. I'm like, oh, great. What camera are you using? Using a Nikon, a Canon? Like, oh no, I have my iPhone. I'm like, well, that's a phone. That's not a camera. That is a phone. And it's not what I'm like asking you, but well, I can take great pictures with this. And I'm just like, oh my God. And to me, I had a good 25 years of this business while I shot on film, where it was a true craft. Like I used my own two hands to make prints in the darkroom. And everything was it was such a thing of craftsmanship, which today doesn't really have that. You get somebody that buys a digital camera for a couple $100 and they'll take 1,000 photos, 1 or 2 liable to come out good. They'll put it in Photoshop, you make it do it, all that stuff. And all of a sudden they got this photo and they're a great photographer. I mean, for me, learning on film, I don't do Photoshop. I do little or none. I know really hardly anything about it because I get it right with lighting and I compose it when I'm taking it, and I do it right when I'm doing it. I don't rely on Photoshop as a crutch. And I've actually had clients tell me, oh, the guy in the mailroom got a new digital camera. He's going to do the photos for our campaign. And I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, good luck with that. But it's really, really oversaturated our business with the advent of digital, which, it's not good for me at least.
Again, with baseball, I'll watch a game and it's really not the same game that I grew up with. It's taught very improperly, and I could show you on a monitor what I'm talking about, and you would say, wow, you're right. Do you look at pictures because you do know how the soup should be cooked? Do you look at other photographers or pictures and say, wow, that's not good? I mean, it's almost like you're always on. You're always critiquing someone else's work. Do you do that?
I do. I mean, essentially, I go through life as a walking camera. I mean, I will stop and take pictures of things I see in my everyday life. All the time, my wife will be like, "What are you doing? You're taking pictures of a rusty like lock on the street." I'm like, "Well, look at the texture in that thing, and look at the lighting on it." And I do, and I do critique other work, and especially the thing is, photos used to be special because they weren't all over the place. There's a gazillions of photos out there now. And whereas it used to be, you had to take a photo on a 36 exposure roll of film. You used to have to make a contact sheet, pick one or two of the best ones, put it in an enlarger, make an enlargement, and then you had a photo in your hands, a tangible photo. So it was not millions of them all over the place, which made them more special. So when I see photos now, I'm just like, oh my God, this is all Photoshop. That's not real. This is AI. That's that. And I can tell what is film and what's not film. And when an artist really puts effort into photography as an art form, because I still do shoot film, and I treat even my digital as a roll of film. I don't take zillions of photos. I try to really hone in and make sure everything looks right when I do it, for sure.
Now, real quick, so you're still using actual printed film then?
I do.
So you're the guy.
I am. So, kind of like people listening to, vinyl records again. I think all things that are nostalgic and old like that always seem to come back. Now people are loving listening to vinyl after they went through, the whole CD phase, the MP3, all that stuff. And I think film is the same way. I think people are getting a little tired of all the digital stuff out there, and they know if they take it on film, it's going to be more special, more real, more authentic. And one of the last shoots I did, I don't know, this was probably 10 or 15 years ago, for Kodak. They went Chapter 11 back then, and they couldn't pay me my full photo rate with money. So they said, how about, Steve, we give you half your rate and the other half we'll give you in film. And I said, I'm like, okay. So I literally have a full-size refrigerator full of film. Well, film and beer.
I like that. I want to ask something.
Yeah.
You know what? You struck on something with me. So two things. Because we're going to go to commercial here in a few seconds. But I want to touch on two things. I remember when they started to come out with. In fact, I still have my two first CDs I bought. I think it was 1987. And one of them was Wagner, and the other one was Def Leppard Hysteria. I still have them.
That's awesome.
But the interesting thing about that was, I remember I was a computer science major later on, so I understood the digitization process and how you actually, what people don't understand is you actually lose something on the sound, because instead of having a nice clean analog wave, you digitize it, but you can only digitize so much, which means you lose pieces of it. Now, to the regular ear, it's one of these, well, you might not hear it, it might sound clear. But I mean, I grew up on, and that never really bothered me. I mean, I just kind of, it was white noise, you tuned it out.
Agreed.
Now, I'll throw something, because I agree with you on the digitization of certain things, because life is analog. It's lighting, it's textured, and I don't think that you can capture that the exact same way that you can on film. Tell me
You
I'm right
can't.
or wrong.
I'll tell you you're right, and I'll tell you exactly why. When you're taking an image on a digital format, the light comes through the lens, and a digital panel is flat, and the light goes right onto the onto the digital screen. When you're shooting film, the light passes through the film, and film is organic. It's made of a bunch of crystalline, like different faceted, like imagine them like little balls with different angles and facets on them, and the light wraps around all that as it goes through the film. Digital's one dimensional. It doesn't have that. They have not gotten that technology yet, where film is like what you just said earlier. I mean, it's more than one dimensional. You get a lot more depth and interesting look when you're shooting with film.
Okay, Steve, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come right back. We have a lot more questions for you. We appreciate your time, and I know this has been very interesting for Steve, and I know our listeners are going to enjoy this interview as well.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claudio Relsano, and I am the author of the book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up, How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. My years as a head baseball coach and a general manager of a pro baseball scouting company, I know that my leadership experiences that I've included in this book will help you become a better leader. You can get the book at ClaudioRelsano.com. Speaking of ClaudioRelsano.com, you can listen to my show, The Claudio Relsano Show, where I've interviewed such legends as Mario Andretti, Dick Vermeil, Rocky Bleier, and many, many others. And I also have an entrepreneurial program there talking about my entrepreneurial experiences. So hopefully that'll help you, and hopefully you will enjoy that. And also, Sports Corner, hosted by Ralph Williams, co-host with myself, Jim Frazier, and Luther Dupree Jr. We appear on 92.5 FM, 1250 AM, The Answer, Salem Radio, every Saturday here in Pittsburgh, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy all the shows, and I hope you enjoy my book.
We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074.
Mother's Day is the most disappointing day for mothers. Don't send Mom a text. Show her some love with a book that will make her laugh out loud. Buy her Come On Down, a little story about my Italian mom's big dream. Writer Fran Tuno tells the underdog story of her Italian mom's need to win big, feed people, and pray her kids marry and give her grandchildren. Plus, Come On Down has delicious recipes. Moms love those. Find Come On Down on Amazon and all large retailers. Learn more at FranTunno.com.
Welcome back to Talking Business and Life with Steve Mancini and Claudio Relsano. Steve Vaccariello, our very special guest. Steve, Princess Diana, Joe Namath, Roberto Clemente, Dan Marino, they never took bad pictures, in my opinion. Why is that? Why? I mean, not just, good looking people, but why is it? And I think it makes Jim Palmer, the old pitcher, Is it the photographer? Is it the subject? What is it? Why is it that those people, at least in my eyes, never took bad pictures?
It's funny, but it's a lot to do with obviously the way the person looks, but even more importantly, the person knows how they present to the camera. So they'll know I look better from this side, that side, chin up, chin down, hard light, soft light. They know how they look best. And even sometimes when I shoot certain celebrities, they'll say, well, if you can you shoot me from this side, like with a softer light coming from up here? Because they've been lit up and photographed so many times. When they see a bad picture of themselves, they're like, oh my God, I don't really like this. And they'll be like smart enough to study it and say, why don't I like this? And they know why. So it is partially the photographer as well. If the photographer knows what they're doing, people say to me, well, I'm not good looking. You're not going to get, good pictures of me. And I'm like, well, that's nonsense. I'm like, my job is to study your face and to know how to sculpt and light your face. If you have chiseled features, if you have a round face, I know what to do to make you look the best.
Now, Steve, I always try to impress Steve with some knowledge that I have on something. Eric Carmen, who is obviously from your neck of the woods in Cleveland.
I've shot him before. I have photographed him.
Okay. Now, he said one time that he was taking pictures. Maybe it was with you. Who knows? But the photographer told him to relax his face. What does that mean? How do you relax your face?
So, and that does happen sometimes. I mean, it could have been me. I mean, I don't know. That's funny.
Impress you, Steve, that I know where Eric Carmen's from.
That's awesome because he's a Clevelander,
right?
And I just told you guys earlier, I'm born and raised in Cleveland, so that's kind of how we met. I did a photo of him for the cover of Cleveland magazine. Sometimes people get, how you hear people say, "Oh, I hate getting my picture taken," all the time. People say it constantly. When they get in front of the camera, they're so like nervous and stressed out. All their tension just comes like right up to their face, and they just get like real tense between their eyebrows and their eyes and everything, and you could just tell their jaw. They'll clench their teeth. They'll be like, I'm like, just calm down. This is going to be easy. You're going to have fun. But that happens to people that get nervous in front of the camera without a doubt. But usually people like celebrities and musicians like him, that doesn't happen to them usually. Although I have been told by a gentleman I photograph a lot, a guy named Alan Cumming, who's an amazing actor, and he has a show out, The Traders, and he's been in X-Men 2 and all kinds of movies. Amazing actor. I would always ask him, why do celebrities get nervous when I take their picture? And he told me, I never thought of this before, because when they're making movies, they're in a character. They have to act like somebody. When they're in front of my camera, it's just them. They're not being a serial killer or a doctor or whatever. They're just being Eric Carmen or Tom Cruise or whoever. So they sometimes don't know what to do or how to act.
He should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be honest with you. What's a song he sings?
All by myself.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought it was. All right, good.
Never Gonna Fall in Love Again.
He
was with the Raspberries.
There you go.
Raspberries.
I know the Raspberries. All right, let me ask you a question now. Let's kind of fast forward with you, to be honest with you, because personally I agree with you. I do believe, and I could be wrong, I believe some people are just more photogenic. I always say to people, I said, I'm better looking live than in picture. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm going to blow you guys' mind. I've never, ever had my picture taken by a professional photographer. Not like
really,
maybe like grade school, if you want to call that quote a professional photographer. But like my quote, my LinkedIn picture, my daughter took my one picture for me because I was like, look, I just need something different because, et cetera. So I've never had my picture. And the funny thing is I'm very self-conscious. Yeah. I look at my pictures, man, I look terrible. That's why I don't like to get my picture taken, because I don't look good in my pictures. Whether it's shadowing, whether it's my little Italian chin thing, I don't know. But let me ask you, because there are a lot of photographers out there, and you're right, the advent of of digital technology allows anyone to, quote, be an expert, to Claudio's point. So let me ask you, though, what separates you then? Because there are other old school photographers too. There's a lot of good photographers out there. But what separates you then from the pack?
That's one pretty simple and clear answer. I make people comfortable. I'm a Midwesterner. I came from Ohio. A lot of people said I was going to move to New York and become this like snooty, uptight, arrogant photographer in Manhattan. And I said, obviously that's not going to happen. And I am who I am. I was born and raised in the Midwest. I make people instantly feel comfortable so they can let their guard down in front of me. They don't feel nervous in front of me. By the time they're sitting in front of my camera, we're like friends and we're talking, and I make them really relaxed. A lot of photographers don't do that. People, get nervous in front of photographers. Sometimes photographers even, insult people. Well, stop doing that. Why are you doing that? You'd be surprised how some photographers treat their subjects.
That reminds me of Zoolander. Dance, monkey, dance.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the main reason. I think I just make people feel really comfortable.
Who was your most favorite celebrity to work with? And you don't have to talk about one that you didn't like, but your favorite celebrity.
The one I liked, I think the best celebrity shoot I think I had was Jeremy Renner. We did a shoot in LA, and I don't like to go through publicists because they're a huge pain in the ass. They're very controlling. They want in on everything. They sit there and watch every single little thing. And so I try not to have to deal with publicists. So I try to get celebrities through other celebrities and through other friends. So a friend of mine had known Jeremy Renner. And I said, could you think you can get him for me? And she's like, yeah, I'll get him. And so I was like, that's amazing. We set up a location, this old like warehouse. And I'm thinking, okay, I probably got him for like 10 or 15 minutes. So he comes to the shoot with a guitar and a bottle of whiskey. And I'm like, oh my God, like game on, here we go. We start taking photos. We're talking. He'd take a smoke break. He'd play his guitar. I'd shoot him some more. We'd take a shot of whiskey. We'd shoot some more. We sat there and hung out for over 2 hours, talking, having shots, taking photos. It was probably one of the most organic photo shoots like I've ever had. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, and to me, that is one of the best. And the other thing I'll say is the second one is I shoot the gentleman I just spoke of earlier, Alan Cumming. I've been photographing him for 25 years. So that's also really rare to have access to a celebrity over that long of a time span. So him and I have such a trust and such a bond that we'll do anything for each other. I can say, hang upside down from the chandelier, and he would do it for me. That's the kind of thing that to me is like super important when two people really form a bond and that magic happens. And it's not necessarily with a room full of people like stylists and hair and makeup and all these people. It's just like one-on-one, you and the subject. That's like when the magic happens, like uninterrupted.
Let me ask you real quick. To be taking someone's picture for 25 years, and I don't say this like in a mean way, but I am just curious. What do they use them for? I mean, is it personal, or is it they just keep updating their publicity photos? What's the purpose? And I don't mean it in a negative way.
No, that's a great question because people have asked me that before. So obviously, as people change over the years, they look different. And Alan happens to be a really big chameleon. He changes his look a lot. Dark hair, blonde hair, this, that. He's a really quirky guy. And so he has a library of all these photos. But secondly, when someone's as busy as he is, he won't have time to like stop in the middle of filming a movie and do a photo shoot. So say Esquire magazine or Men's Journal calls him up and says, we want to do a spread on you. We need photos. And he's like, well, I'm in Scotland filming a film. I can't do a photo shoot. He'll go to that library of photos that I took and he'll send that magazine 100 photos. And they can pick and choose out of there what they want to use for that layout. So he has this ongoing library. So him and I will get together a few times a year when he has downtime and just shoot for his catalog. So that if it's publicity, like you said earlier, if it's for a magazine or a premiere for a movie, or like I remember he did a 5-day stint at Carnegie Hall and they needed a photo of him. So they used my photo, huge like banner in Carnegie Hall. So it's reasons like that it's good to have like a big library like that.
Let me ask you, I kind of want to go back a little bit. You know, you've gotten to the point now where you're well known. You've photographed some major celebrities. You've been doing this for decades. You're clearly an expert in your field. There are a lot of younger folks out there that are studying photography. You didn't study photography. You sort of learned it, I'm going to call it on-the-job training, but you learned it over decades. You become a master at it. You've mastered, obviously, the older techniques, and I'm going to make a leap of faith that you've mastered the digital techniques. Let me ask you, though, this is kind of a weird question. Do you think there's a value in students going to school to study this? Or is it, hey, learn the technology, but there are just some things you can't learn in school? Like how does one, and I guess the bigger question is, how does one learn to become a good, great photography versus a photographer versus someone, to your point, who's just got a phone that the technology is so good, if I aim it at something, it automatically adjusts for everything and I don't have to know anything about the lighting and aspect ratio and all that.
School is good for some people. I wouldn't say it's good for everybody, but some students thrive in school. But the thing about school is they teach you how to do very common things in photography. Here's how you light a face. Here's like how you light a product. It's kind of, for lack of a better word, a little generic. For me, I thought being self-taught would make my vision very unique because nobody told me, okay, Steve, this is how you light this. This is how you light that. So I did all kinds of crazy things. I tried anything and everything. Me and my business partner, a guy named Todd Zoppo, have a book about this thick. And we just would try stuff every single day. This works like this, that works like this didn't work. And we just formulated a style that became my unique look as a photographer. And it's also driven by my love of art, people, traveling, all that stuff that really goes into my head and then into my heart and turns my photography into like a unique vision, like unlike anybody else's. I mean, since I never assisted someone and never even took photo 101.
You know, it's funny you say that. And so a couple of years ago, I filmed a documentary. And I remember when I was going through the actual filming, and I'm like you, I'd never studied it in a classroom. It was one of these things, I have a vision in my head. I know project management, so I know how to organize something. But what I didn't know were things like lighting and I mean, I've watched enough TV and movies to know how things, what works, what doesn't work based on your, a lot of times it's based on what you like. You could take a picture and think it's the greatest thing in the world. Somebody can go, yeah, it's okay. But what I was struggling with for a long time, and I still do a little bit, I struggle a little bit with the imposter syndrome because I didn't go through the formal training. I learned OJT. Now, I knew I didn't know certain things, so I brought people on who were the experts in the filming, in the lighting, in the this, in the that. So I said, I don't know these things. You know these things. That's why I'm bringing you on. All I know is I have an idea, and this is what I'm looking like, and I need to get that idea onto film. Did you ever struggle with that when you were starting out, number one? And number two, now that you've been in the business and you've obviously photographed some of the biggest names out there, the question becomes, who do you look at and say, that's a real photographer, that's an imposter?
Mm-hmm. So I do remember early on when I started getting some of my first big jobs, when I was still living in Cleveland. I got hired as a secondary photographer on a job, but the lead photographer was this big time photographer that came from Paris to Cleveland. And I was there, with my partner, and we were shooting stuff and the other guy was shooting stuff. And I was watching what that guy was doing. And I turned to my partner, I'm like, dude, we don't know what the F we're doing.
I get that.
I was like, what is that thing? And what is he doing with the lens and all that stuff? And I was just like, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into, man? We're screwed. I mean, so I did go through a little bit of that early in my career. And I think just by those few incidents, I just kept on making me want to learn and soak up more and more information. And what also, the second part of your question, what inspires me, I'm really not inspired by any modern day photographers. Who I really love and whose work I used to love were a lot of masters like Richard Avedon and Irving Penn and Robert Mapplethorpe and Steichen and Stieglitz, purists. My photography is like I told you, I don't do Photoshop. I'm not a gadget freak. I don't have equipment all over the place. I'm a purist, and I like to produce photos that will remain classic over a period of time. I want someone to look at my photos in 100 years and not know if they were taken 100 years ago or yesterday. That's my goal. I don't want it to be stamped by fashion or crazy makeup or anything like that.
Very well said. Steve, I have many people that have had impact in my life, people that I look up to, role models. Who were some of yours in the photography world?
So some of the guys that I really, really loved, like I mentioned a minute ago, Richard Avedon, incredible black and white photographer, shot on an 8x10 camera, incredible, incredible work. Robert Mapplethorpe, amazing. He inspired me big time. Irving Penn. These are all masters that like did everything mostly in black and white, did everything on film, had a unique, timeless vision, which is what I still instill in my work till this day. No modern day photographer inspires me today. It's all guys like from, the 50s and the 60s, like a guy named Cecil Beaton, amazing English photographer, like such amazing pure work.
All right. Let me ask you, besides just taking pictures, sarcasm intended, what's next for you?
I'll obviously do photos until the day I die. Other things I love to do is I'm an avid fly fisherman. I love to fly fish. It's funny because people are always thinking, oh, you got this like New York City celebrity photographer and he's like standing in a river, like casting the trout and stuff. And I'm like, that's how I decompress. And that's how I get out of that, like, sometimes hectic world with like high fashion models and art directors and all that stuff. It's a way for me to decompress and be out in nature. And I love doing that. And I've recently become an empty nester. So my wife and I are traveling a lot, and she's a writer, and she's an incredible writer, and she's written for a lot of incredible magazines. And her and I will do trips, and she'll write the words, and I'll do the photos, and we'll sell the packages to different magazines and stuff like that as a writer-photographer duo, which is great to have.
It just made me think of something now, because I do want to ask you I'm going to make a leap of faith that there weren't too many jobs you didn't take, especially early on. You got to pay the bills. You're just starting out. Now that you're established, are there people you say, you know what, I'm not working with them. There's not enough money in the world. And then what is the reason for that? And besides, obviously, maybe the person's just a dick. But I mean, beyond that, what would turn you off? I won't do it.
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, a couple. So I had a client that will remain nameless that I was doing a lot of photography for, big high-end production shoots, like, $50,000-$60,000, huge shoots. And they made us work a lot of overtime. And I had a lot of assistants on those jobs, 3-4 different assistants. And I would put in the overtime for the assistants, not even caring about myself. I want to get my assistants paid because they work so hard. And this client was like, well, we're not going to pay overtime. And I'm like, well, my guys were out working until like 1 a.m, downloading files and cleaning up and getting equipment ready for the next day. Well, we don't care. We're not going to pay him. We're not going to pay him. And I'm like, well, if you're not going to pay the people that made this production possible for you, then I really don't want to work for you anymore. And meanwhile, they were flying in on their private jets and drinking like Moet and Chandon champagne on the set. And, I'm just thinking to myself, and, meanwhile, they never once offered us if we wanted like water or Gatorade or anything. And it's like 95 degrees outside. So the short answer is clients that don't care about like me and my crew. Most all clients always care about the crew, because they know if I'm happy and my crew's happy, they're going to get great work. And that's what they want. So this one client was a complete opposite. And the second factor is, again, in a different kind of way, money. They'll call me up and they'll say, oh, we want you to do this big ad campaign. It's going to be worldwide. We're going to do this big layout, advertising all over Asia and Europe, United States. And it's going to be a full day shoot and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And we can give you $1,000. And I'm just like, that won't even pay for my assistants. And they're like, well, you're not going to do it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. And they find it hard to believe that I'm not going to do it when they offer me. Again, this has happened more since the advent of digital. Back in the film days, that didn't happen a lot, because now they know they'll get some like young college kid with a digital camera. They'll pay him $1,000 and he'll do it.
You know what? That's funny, because that is the danger with saturation. And the thing about digital, and you kind of touched on this, not everyone has that eye. And by the way, listen to me, I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form, but I am telling you that when you do get behind the camera, and I'm more, doing the films, now I see things a little different. Not there yet, not an expert. I know my limitations, but I do notice things now, especially when I'm watching a film, and I'll say, wow, I never really paid attention to that. And I think that's the danger that you run into now, is with a saturated market with digital cameras that can clean a lot of it up for you digitally on the spot. Someone that doesn't know what to look at says, that looks good, and then they're happy with it. And ultimately, if the customer's happy, the customer's happy. But it's like, if you want good, fine. Do you want great, or do you want good? And the problem is in some ways our standards are so much lower that people don't even know what great is anymore. And I think digital blame it, again, especially in the music. Go back to vinyl, listen to a song in vinyl, and then go listen to it on a digital. I'm telling you, if you've listened to vinyl before, you will pick it up right away, the difference, right away. So, Steve, I'm going to give you the last couple of thoughts, and also let folks know how they can find you. But you're not cheap. I'm just kidding.
Sure, but I hear what you're saying about the vinyl. When they record those vinyl records, like a band like Led Zeppelin or The Door or The Who's, they were all in the same room together playing that music together. Now when they make music, someone's in London, someone's in New York, someone's in LA. They're not even in the same room playing the music together.
Right.
I mean, and you could tell that it's not organic. It's just not the same. I completely agree with you, Steve. I mean, 100%. And it does really make a difference. And with all the saturation of the photography, like you just see thousands of photos, and only every once in a while you'll go like, whoop, like there's a good picture. But it doesn't happen a lot.
All right. How can folks kind of track you and follow you?
Sure. So my website is stevevac.com, STEVE, V like Victor, ACC.com. And I actually have two Instagrams. My one for my dance photography is Steve_V like Victor, ACC. And the one for my celebrities and my portrait and fashion is Steve.V like Victor, ACC.
Awesome. And I'll put those links out there on the description so folks can follow you. And Steve, I want to thank you for your time today. I think this is kind of a fun one because, I'm probably in the same generation as you, so I totally appreciate the difference between analog and digital. I appreciate printed photos. In fact, fun fact, one thing I absolutely miss is I miss the professionally printed, developed, not printed, right. Because it is I can look at pictures from 70 years ago, 60 years ago, they might fade a little bit. I get that, but I don't know, there's just something more authentic about it. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
100%. And I'll tell you something that I say to some people, like 5% of all images in this digital age ever come to print. You know what's gone forever that's never going to be had again? Is you going up into your grandmother's attic and finding that shoebox full of photos.
Absolutely.
Of your dad and his dad and all that. That's gone now. I mean, because nobody prints anything. It's all like out in the cloud.
Right.
And I still print a lot of images because when I'm gone, I'm going to want my kids to find that stuff and to be able to have it, tangible in their hands.
No, it's funny you say that because I've got all these like old pictures on my computer, and I actually have a scrapbook, and I'm finding the other ones that were printed from back, and I'm putting them in my scrapbook. And I'm telling you, I'm maybe it's just a generational thing, but there's something. But Steve, I want to thank you again. By the way, you're not in Cleveland now, though. You're in New York.
No. I've been in New York City area for 27 years.
All right. Well, the next time you're back around Cleveland, let me know, because you're going to try and see if you can make this look better. I'm putting in my picture on the screen. Good luck.
Thank you.
Listen,
Steve.
I will be your greatest challenge. Let's put it that way. So
I'm sure I could do you right, man. I'll take care of you.
I appreciate that. I might actually follow up on that sooner than you think.
Thank you,
Claudio,
Steve.
I want you to take us out of here. And as always, we appreciate all of our listeners from all over the world. Steve, I appreciate you as a guest. I'll put your contact information out there. Claudio, take us away.
Steve was a great guest. Steve, we appreciate you. We appreciate all the people listening to our show all over the world. And Steve, I always thank you. And as always, thank you, Mom and Pop. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to Talking Business and Life with Claudio Relsano and Steve Mancini. Tune in next week for more impactful business and life experiences with Claudio and Steve.